Welcome to my channel. My name is Kai. This channel is all about helping you and others find the light within through channeled messages and sharing my own experience. And in today's video, I'm going to share my 200-hour yoga teacher training experience, what that was like for me, where did I go, and what the overall experience was like. So let's start with where I went. I went to Palomino, which is in Colombia. It's on the Caribbean coast, I believe. I'll insert something to show where exactly it was. The program was about 26 days long, and my daily routine basically consisted of, waking up at 7 a.m., doing a morning practice, morning meditation, following after, having breakfast, and then about 4 to 5 hours of different classes that fall under the yoga teacher training, such as philosophy, asana labs. We studied a lot about anatomy, the human anatomy, and how that is associated with yoga. And then we also did a few ethics classes and those sort of things. So my overall experience and my thoughts are that was probably the most challenging thing that I had done in a really, really long time. I had no expectations going into it. I just kind of was like, oh, this, becoming a yoga teacher or going through the training would be something cool to do because I had recently done a yoga retreat and I've been practicing yoga here and there for the past, I don't know, 5 years or so. And then also having a friend who's really, really into it. So we were able to go to Colombia and do this course, but I don't think either of us knew just how intense this would have been for us, both, not only physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Because when you're doing yoga on a daily basis, let me just tell you, it's going to do some things to your mind, your body, and your spirit. Because what yoga is union between you and the divine. And so you can practice this through the philosophy, which is honestly one of my favorite parts of yoga, is the philosophy and the lifestyle. So yoga isn't just going and practicing on the mat and doing your asanas. It's so much more than that. It's how you eat, it's how you treat other people, it's how you treat yourself. And I just love the philosophy around it. There's so much that goes into it. So not only are you having a lot of self-reflective moments during this yoga teacher training, you're also having a lot of emotional releases because you're moving certain parts of your body that maybe have been stagnant for a really long time. You are doing a lot of hip openers, which we know if you study any sort of yoga philosophy and those sort of things, a lot of our emotions get stored in our hips. And anatomically speaking and physiologically speaking, that is, that can easily be proven. So when we're doing a lot of these exercises and when we're studying a lot of the philosophy and we're learning about anatomy and you're in this beautiful serene place and you're eating all this great vegetarian food, you're surrounded by similar energies and people looking to have their own, people who are also on their spiritual journey as well. So there's a lot of energy devoted towards healing. And I think that's one of the underlying things that we don't expect when going to a yoga teacher training. We don't expect to be healed ourselves. We just expect to learn how to teach yoga. But it's so much more than that. And I will say physically, I wasn't really prepared because, as I mentioned, I've been practicing yoga for the past 5 years or so. But basically, it once in a while I would do a asana practice. So physically, it was very overwhelming. But after about the first week, I was able to build a routine where, my body was prepared for what we were going to do for the day in our asana labs and in our daily practices. So if you're thinking of doing a yoga teacher training, I do recommend probably starting a daily routine for the physical aspect of it about a week or two before you take off to your yoga teacher training. Emotionally, as I mentioned, you're doing a lot of physical and mental work while you're at your yoga training. You're learning a lot about the niyamas and the yamas. So this was something where I had to reflect a lot, because as I'm learning, I'm like, oh, wait, do I live by this, or am I practicing this? And so I had to change a lot when it came to the philosophy aspect. You'll learn a lot about the chakras, and you'll kind of see where your own blockages are occurring within yourself. So that can be emotionally liberating for a lot of people. And also spiritually. So spiritually, as I mentioned, that was another challenge for me, was just kind of working through the meditations and also working through like my own emotional, spiritual things that I was dealing with. I did get the chance to take ayahuasca for the second time, which was so beautiful, such a beautiful experience, very different from the first experience that I had. If you are going to another country, or if you're going to do a yoga teacher training and they're offering some sort of healing ceremony, I do recommend possibly doing it after your yoga teacher training, because it can kind of affect the way that you are practicing. But if you feel as though you can handle that, go ahead and take it during your training. But if not, if you can, wait until after. Or if you are really, really wanting to do it, you can do it before your yoga teacher training. It will only enhance the experience for you. And I think you'll be able to understand it a lot more and really incorporate what you've learned into your daily life. Another amazing thing that came out of my yoga teacher training was the fact that I met a lot of amazing people. And as I mentioned, these are people who are also on their spiritual journey as well. And it was just amazing to me in my own yoga teacher training how so many of us were able to come together at such a random place, a random time, random group of people. I think there were about 10 to 12 of us, but all of us had so much in common. And I don't mean interest, and I'm not saying, we all had the same interest and that sort of thing, but we all saw a little bit of ourselves in each one of the other people. So that was really, really interesting for me. I absolutely adored the group of people that I did my yoga teacher training with. I definitely made some lifelong friends. And, being that we saw a reflection of ourselves within each other, there were a lot of, I will say, triggers that came up during the training as we're all on this healing. I like to call it a hyper intensive healing course. It is not a yoga teacher training course, it's hyper intensive healing, so that you can apply this and help others do the same. And as we were all doing this, we were all aware of that. And so a lot of triggers started to come up for us. A lot of people are kind of reacting in ways that they're not familiar with. But then the beautiful thing was that we were all there to help each other, and we were all so patient with the growth that we were all receiving on an individual basis. It was just such a beautiful environment for this to take place, and I wouldn't have wanted to do it anywhere else. Because outside of the yoga teacher training, I don't know if half of the things that we've gone through would have been understood or accepted or acknowledged and appreciated. So that is, the people, how it affected me physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But another thing that I would say, if you're looking to go on your own yoga teacher training journey, or just the healing journey in general, really take some time to take in the surrounding area that you're in, the nature, the people, because that is a part of it as well. Most of the times we go out of our hometown, or we go out of our comfort zone to do things like this. And there's a reason for that. It's so that you can experience more of the world. You can experience more people. You can experience more nature. And that was one of the beautiful things about my yoga teacher training, was that we were right on the coastline, right near the water. So whenever we would finish a training, or whenever there was any free time, meditating by the water, doing walking meditations by the water was something that really kept me in alignment, in addition to everything that we were doing. But I just loved the idea that we were surrounded by nature, which is such an important part of your spiritual growth is spending time in nature. And to do it while you're at your yoga teacher training will help kind of level out some of the intensity that you're feeling, that you may be feeling going through this course. There were a lot of changes in my own personal world, not just physically, not just emotionally, and not just spiritually, but a lot of personal changes when it comes to work, relationships, and that includes both friendship and romantic relationships. Because I was doing so much work on myself and so much healing, I started to look at the world a little bit differently. And this is kind of like that cliche that you hear about a lot of people going to things like this and then coming back and quitting their day jobs and, going on this spiritual hippie journey. I mean, it's true for the most part. If you haven't already gotten to that point, kudos to you for sticking in this long on the other side. But essentially, I started to look at what I was doing a little bit differently and recognizing what really matters and what doesn't. And what really mattered to me was my freedom and being able to wake up and do the things that bring me a lot of joy. It not only has helped me creatively, but it's reduced my stress levels significantly. And I decided all of this while at my yoga teacher training, but because of the healing that I was doing, it gave me the confidence to make a lot of the decisions that I made that for most people would be life-changing decisions. But for me, it was, what is my priority? My priority is my freedom and my happiness and my health. And so I was able to meditate on this a lot and find ways and strategies to create the reality that I wanted to. And essentially, it was just the fact that I was raising my vibrations during this yoga teacher training that allowed me to align with what I truly wanted. And I think that was a part of the hyper intensity of this journey as well, because something like that could have easily taken me years to come to the conclusion that, okay, I want to quit my job. I want to start living a life on my terms, and I want to be creative, and I want to be a manifester of my own reality. And this goes into relationships as well. So I want to be more intentional about the relationships that I have, but I know I have to be real with myself. And that was one of the things that came up in the philosophy portion of this course, was me just really taking a mirror to myself and being honest with who I am and what I want, and taking that and carrying it over into work and relationships and just everything that I do in life. So that was my experience and my thoughts of my yoga teacher training. And I know this is a lot deeper than just the asanas, and I promise you that it is. So I didn't have any expectations or preparation going into this, but if you're watching this video and you're kind of like, okay, this is kind of scaring me, don't make it like, it's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be beautiful. And it's just like, you're getting more than just your yoga certification by the end of this. You're getting a better understanding of who you are, of who other people are, what your intentions and your motivations are in life. And you get the confidence and the energy and the vitality to go after that once you've completed your training, because you are definitely going to be a whole new person, but for the better. So what I plan to do now that I am RYT certified is to not only incorporate yoga into my daily life, which I already have been doing. One great way to build discipline and continue your practice, even if you don't plan on joining a studio or if you don't plan on opening your own practice right away, is to practice with friends. I find that even though they live across the globe or wherever they might live, because my yoga teacher training incorporated people from all over the globe, you can virtually practice with them, and it's amazing. It's one of the beautiful things. You just set a time, you can hop on your Zoom and get your practice done with your friends. Another way that I plan on doing or incorporating my RYT into my daily life is hosting my own retreats. So I want other people to be able to experience what I experienced at my yoga teacher training course, even if they don't want to be, not everyone wants to be a yoga teacher, or not everyone wants to spend 26 days or can spend 26 days at a training like that. So what I want to do is take a little bit of, that feeling and encapsulate it into my own retreats and help people with their own intensive healing journeys and give them the tools that they can use by bringing them back into their daily life and basically just incorporating that into their daily routines as well, giving them the tools that they need to live in the environment that they're living in, or the tools that they need to take that next step into the career or the vocation of their dreams, or to understand certain patterns and cycles within their relationships, just anything that they're dealing with on a spiritual, emotional, and physical level, giving them the tools that they need within retreats. So, a few days they can come and learn how to do that. In addition to hosting my own retreats, I'll also be teaching wherever I travel to sharpen my own skills. So one thing that you can do when you do get your certification, if you're thinking about that, is to do work exchanges. This is something where you can basically travel the world for free, and in exchange you're giving yoga classes, which to me is a great exchange because currency is just an exchange of energy, and teaching yoga is one of the highest forms of energy that you can give someone. So in return, you get a place to live, you get food, you get, to meet amazing and beautiful people all over the world. So that's one thing that I eventually will get into, is doing some sort of work exchange and just teaching yoga and living, living the good life essentially. I do eventually plan on having my own practice, which would be incorporated in my wellness business overall. And because I'm certified in holistic nutrition, I'll be incorporating this into kind of like a lifestyle wellness business where people can come and not only get their nutritional needs, but also their physical, spiritual, mental, because it's holistic. And holistic doesn't just look at your physical ailments, it looks at your life as a whole. So that's how I plan on incorporating yoga into my life after receiving my RYT certifications. So my final thoughts on completing my yoga teacher training is that if anyone is currently on their own spiritual journey and you're being called to do this, definitely take advantage of it, because you'll learn so much about yourself. You'll see the world. You'll meet new people who you can learn from. Even if you never plan on teaching yoga, you still get so much out of it. I think it's great for your own personal practice as well as your own personal growth. So if you're interested, and I have done somewhat of a good job of convincing you to take the next step, I'm really happy that you have decided to do that. And I look forward to you sharing your experience, because that's what this is all about. The more you share your experience with others, the more you can awaken this light within other people as well. And that's what this is all about.